saw it when I walk, boy. I saw it when I walk, boy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to class today. Thank you for joining me, whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording. Appreciate you tuning in. Our live class today is going to be pretty short. The goal of my live class today is to just kind of finish up some of the orientation material. I want to specifically have a look at our final project, which will take me a few minutes to cover. So we'll get into all of that in just a minute. First of all, let me get into a bit of an explanation with the live streams, right? This will be this is our first live stream. We're going to try to do this every week, if at all possible. There will be some weeks, more likely than not, when I will not be able to have one of these streams with you all. In the event that happens, I will provide you all with some other sort of video, whether it's a pre-recorded live stream or something else that covers the material to help support you in that particular module, whatever we're doing at that particular time. So there is that. I like to do it on YouTube just because I think it's probably the most low stakes environment. I know in a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting, there's this sort of pressure to, maybe be on camera, maybe participate in chat. Other people can see who's in there. Whereas on YouTube, you don't have that, right? Like you can come in with an alias and, leave your responses in chat if you'd like. I'm also monitoring email and Teams during this time as well. So if you don't feel comfortable talking in the chat on YouTube, you can send me a message on Teams or via email, and I will get it. I just think it's with live online classes, virtual classes kind of being as they are, I think it gives us a way that we can have that interaction while still having it be as comfortable as possible, I guess, is the word that I'm looking for. So with that being said, we can get into the orientation material, kind of finish in talking about, what I want us to talk about today. And so the big thing right off the bat, let's just do a few reminders. And the first one is the EVA. Right, we want to make sure that you get that EVA done as soon as possible. All right, we have it listed in our check-in reminder here. We also have it mentioned here in the original announcement, and it's in our begin here. Right here, the enrollment verification activity. So it needs to be done by August the 26th. That is the 10% point or the census point or whatever you want to call it for the class, right? The terminology for that date doesn't really matter to you all a whole lot. It basically just means that 10% of the class is passed, and by that time I need to know who's going to continue in the class and who's going to, or who doesn't want to be a part of the class. That way you can get, full refunds or whatever you need to do there. So by completing this enrollment verification activity, it just lets me know, yes, I'd like to be in this course. And then I can put that down in my records and just say, like, yep, they said yes, this is their graded assignment that they completed, and they're in the course. Otherwise, if you don't want to be in the course, maybe this course isn't what you thought it was going to be, or you don't really need it, or you don't really want to do it, or whatever, you don't have to do the enrollment verification activity. You shouldn't really do anything at this point in time. You can contact me and let me know. That would be ideal, right? If you don't want to be a part of the course, just contact me, let me know, like, hey, this isn't really what I thought it was going to be. I don't really want to do this. Or whatever, right? I'm not judging. So don't do anything in the course. Just email me and let me know, and then I can make sure you get removed from the course with, in good standing. That would get you the refund or whatever you'd need there. But it's important that you do this if you want to stay in the course, because it's the way that we determine that you can stay in the course. Because if you don't do it and it just kind of comes and goes, then you will get dropped from the course, even if you didn't want to. So just make sure you complete that if you haven't yet and you want to remain in the course. A lot of the other getting started information here is, mostly the standard stuff, right? I also cover this Begin Here module in our Begin Here module orientation video here. So I won't really go into much of it today. Make sure you watch this video if you haven't yet. It goes into a bit of orientation on what's going on in the course and on what all this stuff means. I know many of you, if not all of you, are second year students or at least have taken some amount of classes here before. So some of this stuff will be familiar to you. Some of the stuff that might be more specific to me and the way that I handle things is probably going to be new to you. But please make sure you watch that orientation video. Please make sure you read through everything. Complete that EVA assignment. And you also have an introduction discussion board here that I'd like for you to complete, and an orientation quiz that I'd like for you to complete. And so that's stuff that I've kind of mentioned before and discussed before in that orientation video in more detail. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk more today about the final project. Because the final project, in my opinion, is a pretty big one. And it is a group project. And the reason why it is a group project gets more clear as we get into Module 2, which starts the content modules for the course. But it is a group project, and I know a lot of people don't like group projects, and I tried to make this group project as friendly to people who don't like group projects as possible. Instead of everybody needing to sort of meet and work on different items as a unit, the way that I kind of have this set up here is that everybody gets a role that they have to complete, and they can kind of do it on their own. So really the only thing that you'd have to worry about is if your role relied on someone else's role or the things that someone else was doing. So I'm going to go into detail on the final project now, just to try to make sure that we have as much information about the final project readily available to you all as possible, because it is a pretty big project. So in the Begin Here module, you can see this folder here has the final project information in it. That is the same folder that is on the navigation here, module final project. That's the same folder, the same content. So whether you click on this folder here at the bottom of the Begin Here module, or this module final project in our navigation, it's taking you to the same place. And this is the final project. And so it says here, I'll divide you into teams and assign you your subject area within the first week. It's going to be more like the first, it's going to be by that August 26th date. Right? Because I tried to do it within the first, I tried to make sure it was within the first week, the first few times, or the first time that I ran this course. And then, if you do that, you have people that start day one that decide they don't want to take the course anymore by the census date, so they leave the course, and then you end up without full teams. So now I wait until that August 26th census date to make the teams. So it says 1 week here. It's going to be more like 2 weeks, but it's going to be fine. in this course, if nobody decides that they don't want to take it, currently we have 6 people. And what I'd like to try is to try to do 2 groups if that number holds. Right? So that would be 2 groups of 3. I know the description here says 4 people. Right? And that means one person would basically take on multiple roles. And really, 2 people are probably taking on multiple roles because one person's going to have to be the group leader and do something. Right, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as some of you might think it would be because of an addition that I am adding to the project this time around. But when we look at the final project here, I will divide you into teams. I will give you a prompt. That prompt is usually one of the programs of study here at Cleveland Community College. So I might give you, say, the cosmetology degree, or the welding degree, or the radiography degree. And your job will be to create a website that promotes that program area. All right, we have all that information here in the website brief. You've been asked to develop a website for a program of study at Cleveland Community College. Your instructor will assign you a program of study when he puts together the teams. Each website should have this list of things. However you all want to make it look, whatever you all want to do with it, that's up to you. But it has to have the name of the program, a description of the program, a list of the required courses for the program, a list of the jobs one could get with this degree, relevant pictures, and a link back to the Cleveland Community College website. So real just general requirements there for the website. So if we look here, we can look at kind of the different roles that each person might want to take on. And so we have basically 4 areas in which somebody can kind of do something. One, you'll need one person to kind of be the leader of the group. This person's also going to take on another, one of the 4 roles that we have here. Right, one person's going to be the leader of the group. They're going to be the ones who have the main GitHub repo, right, which we'll talk about more about how GitHub works and how to do all that with Module 2. So the group leader is going to be the owner of the primary repo. They're also going to be the one who has to manage the pull requests and all that kind of fun stuff. And then this person as well will have to take on one of the other 4 roles in the project. So person 1, that first role is to add Bootstrap to the site, right? So if you are the Bootstrap role, your job is to also kind of add content to the website, add the primary content to the website. We cover Bootstrap in Module 3. Person 2 is going to add some jQuery scripts. jQuery is Module 4. Or no, jQuery is Module 3, Bootstrap's Module 4. I got those out of order. So we'll cover Bootstrap from person 1 in Module 4. jQuery from person 2 in Module 3. Person 5 will create custom graphics for the site, whether it's a logo or some pictures or a little video. Right? They're also going to want to use best practices in order to create this material, which we'll talk about when we get to our Canva module, which is Module 6. And then person 4 is, going to be the last phase in the project, which is why I have them here as the last person. They're basically going to be using the browser developer tools, which we cover in Module 5, to conduct an analysis and an assessment of the website and create a report based on that information that also suggests some potential changes. Again, we're going to be covering that stuff when we get to Module 5 about how to do all that, right? So at some point in the course, we cover all the things that you would need to be able to do each of these roles, whether it's group leader, whether it is person 1, 2, 3, or 4. Right? Basically, each person kind of takes the content from a module and applies it to their site. Now, what I think is going to make this a little bit easier this time around than it maybe has been in the past is my addition of Module 7, which is AI for web development. This module's not built yet. I'm still, trying to think about and work on what I put in this module, but by the time we get to this module in the course, it'll be all built out and ready to go. I'm going to try to have it all built out and ready to go by fall break, so you all can kind of get a head start and look at it if you want to, around midway through the course. But it's AI for web development. That's the new module. And, I've kind of been going back and forth about it, like a lot of college instructors, I'm sure, probably have. And what I've ultimately decided here is that, especially in this course, which is a course about web development tools, in 2024, AI is a web development tool. And so I should teach you how to use this web development tool, and you should be able to use this web development tool as a part of the course, doing your assignments, just like you would use any other web development tool. So as far as I'm concerned, especially within this course, the context of this course, the use of AI is going to be A-OK. It's going to be fine for the final project. I do have in here some guidelines for if you use AI on the final project, some things I'd like to see. Right, they're down here at the bottom. AI may be used to help you develop your code. If you use AI developed code, I want you to include a comment in your code that just tells me the prompt that you use to generate your code, along with the AI model that you use to generate that code. Right, so if it's ChatGPT 4.0, if it's Claude 3.5 Sonnet, if it's Gemini 1.5 or whatever, tell me the LLM you used and tell me the prompt that you used. Tell me how you implemented it and any changes that you made to it. If you include all of those things as a comment in your project, it's going to be just fine. Even if you do that for some of the other projects, it's going to be fine. All right, I'm not that dense to kind of not realize that, this is the future, this is where things are heading. We need to kind of embrace it and roll with it. So that's what we're going to do. And hopefully with the addition of Module 7, we can learn how to do that better. right? So when we get into the modules, I am going to teach you all the things. I am going to teach you how to write the code on its own. Without the assistance of AI in those modules. You can use it if you choose on your project. Just let me know those 3 things. The prompt with the AI model, how you implemented the project, any modification. That way we get both sides of it. We get the manual code side so you can kind of understand how it works, and we get the AI side so we can use our future tools and kind of understand where things are going. So even though this is a group assignment, everyone will be graded individually based on their contribution. That's one of the great things about using GitHub for this project, is that I can see everybody's individual contribution in the GitHub logs. We'll look more at that when we talk about Git and GitHub in Module 2. I can kind of show you an example now just to give you an indication of what this looks like. Here's my GitHub. You can see these repositories here. Where's one that I've made several? So these are the demos for the Java class last spring. I can show you this one pretty easily. So these are all the code demos for last spring's Java class. And if you look here, you can see that I have 23 commits. So I've sent code to this GitHub 23 times. And if I click that, it'll show you all the commits that I made, when I made them. And if I click on one of them, you can see the code that I wrote when I made that commit. And so this is basically how I track your individual contributions. Because when you have a bigger project with multiple people working on it, you end up making pull requests, right? I have a project here that I can show, right? Like this criminal law text here that I was working on. You see that it was forked from Sailor.org. And so if we go in here, we can see that I've made 5 commits here. But that also, on the initial branch, I've made 3 commits, and on the initial branch, the owners of the project made 2. So I can see who made it and what they did on it. And if I click it, I can see what code they added to it. And so on and so forth. So this is how I track your contribution to the project. So if everybody's doing what they're supposed to do and they're pulling their own weight, then it will be clear via this that it's being done. Everybody gets graded individually. So if you do everything you're supposed to do and one of your group mates maybe does not, I'm not going to penalize you for that. It's not your fault. There are also little check-in assignments along the way in different modules where I just say, like, how are you divvying up the team roles? How are things going? Is there anything I can do to help? That sort of thing. Just at different modules along the way, you just turn in a little brief write-up. That's a check-in as a part of this, and you're good. So I think that's really all that I have for you about this today. We'll revisit this a few times, right? Like we'll have to talk about it again on the 26th when I make your teams. because things could change between now and then based on group members and stuff like that, right? Like if we have to put everybody in one group, that changes the group dynamic. We'll have to talk about all of this again. But that's all that I've got for you for today. If you got any questions for me, feel free to drop them in the chat or send me an email or a Teams message. I'll hang out here for just a minute just in case anybody has any questions. Next week, we're going to talk about the website bootcamp assignment that is in Module 1. That's all that I have for you for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.